Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Yeah, we're shooting in the same place that the last couple videos that you've seen because we're knocking stuff out this week. Really appreciate every single one of y'all being here. I am Bradley Hallman. Today we're going to talk about technology, but not the technology that you're thinking about. Electronics, boats, all the new gadgets and gadgets that we have in the fishing industry, rods and reels. It takes a lot to run all the electronics and stuff that we have on boats today, even if you're only running one graph. This video is going to pertain to you. We're going to talk about powering your boat, whether it's your cranking battery that runs all the power to your boat, to your motor that you start with, or whether we're talking about the power that runs your trolling motor. Either or, we're going to talk about both of them. Some experiences that I've had through the years, where I started on my system and how I got to where I am today and why it's important to me, and what I think the easiest out for you is, and the reason why I think it's a good deal. All right, today we're going to talk about power. We're going to talk about my entire system, exactly all the details to it and why I do it this way. And like I said, I want to talk about how I got to this, right? So I'm running nothing but lithium Pro Guide batteries right now today in 2023. I didn't think I would ever get to this point. In the beginning of the lithium days of batteries, things were happening like Chris Lane's boat was burning down. Different situations and instances that happened. They were primarily because of either the battery technology or the charging system that they were using to charge the lithium batteries. There was a lot going on there at that time. It was early on, and I had my boat in the house, garage with all my children in it, and I just wasn't willing to do it. That time has come and gone because I've ran lithiums on my trollers for the last 5 years, I believe, just on my trolling motor system. And then starting this year, I also started to run lithiums on my crankers. So I have nothing but a boat full of lithiums. Now, as we make this video, it is definitely overkill, and this is left over from my acid days of running acid batteries. AGMs for a long time when we just had one big graph at each console on the front, it was enough to carry everything. But as time's gone on, more electronics, more power needed, I had to start adding acid batteries. So I used to just carry the 31 AGM acids, Pro Guides, as a matter of fact, and I would stack them up, and I would have 3 on one side for that, and then I'd have 2 parallel, so I was carrying 5 acid batteries, which is a lot of weight because they weigh somewhere in the ballpark of 80 to 85 pounds a piece. They're heavy. The lithiums that I'm running right now, one battery is a 36 volt, all by itself. It's a 31, true 31 group series, so it fits down in your tray just like you want it. You don't have to change trays out or anything, and they only weigh 33 pounds a piece. That's right. So you're changing one battery that weighs 33 pounds for 3 that weigh 70 plus a piece out. So you're losing a whole lot of weight. And any kind of boat situation you have, new or old, the weight's a big deal. And getting rid of that weight is like basically kicking a person out of the boat. One person, one grown man, you kicked him out. Just by changing from 3 to 1. Where I got into this system was originally, I looked at the price difference because lithiums are not cheap. Matter of fact, AGM acids are not cheap. But there is a big markup between going lithium or whether you're running acids. One thing that I went through every single year was batteries were losing their retention. Like they wouldn't, the acids would only take. So if I tried to run a boat for 18 months, 2 years on a set of batteries, I couldn't make it. The charge, the recharge that I would get out of them, the battery life, they would start getting slower and slower. And so I might start the spring in February, March down in Texas, and I'm like, yeah, these batteries are good. Guaranteed by the time I got to April and fish got on the beds and I really started standing on that trolling motor, I was headed off to go buy some more acids. And it was annually, every year I was doing it. With the cost of the lithiums, the Pro Guides come with a 10-year warranty. 10 years from a company that has been in business since 1980 with Pro Guide, as opposed to buying a lithium somewhere of a company that started in business in 2022. I can get one battery with a 10-year warranty, and this was basically my plan. And so that's what I did 5 years ago. I purchased two 36s because I wanted two, one for backup and one next to it. And I ran those and I moved them from boat to boat to boat because, as you guys know, I get a new boat. And instead of selling those batteries because they cost so much, I was just throwing some acids in them, sell the boat, take the lithiums with me. And I actually moved that last set of lithiums 4 boats. I fished 4 boats with it. And one of them I think I kept 2 years. Anyway, it's a set of lithiums that I've got in my 2022 Phoenix, which I still have right now at the house. I think Bronson's about to buy, a buddy of mine. But he'll get those lithiums, and they're 5 years old, but they've got 10-year lifespan on them. So when I'm doing the math on buying new acids each year, to me, it was 1, less hassle, because I didn't have to go buy new batteries, and 2, it was cost effective to where I was actually saving money by purchasing lithium. Now, if you are an average day-to-day fisherman, there is no doubt in my mind that you can get away with 136 volt. So we just got done at St. Clair. I had fished for a couple of days before I went to St. Clair. And when I got home, I came up to I fished a couple of days before I came to St. Clair. That's what it was. Somewhere in there, I had remember playing with a switch, which we'll get to in the back of my boat, and then it'll kind of tie the story in. But I had messed with this switch in the back of my boat, which alternates which batteries I'm using. And then I went to St. Clair and I fished for 3 days of practice. And the first day of the tournament, I dropped my trolling motor in the water and I have no power. I knew that my batteries were charged because I'd seen the green light on my power pole charger. And I kind of panicked, like anyone would. Trolling motor's not working right before takeoff, and I'm about to call your number, but I didn't have power. I came back here, flipped the switch onto my other set, and boom, there it is, full power. And then I fished the entire day, didn't have any problems. It was the fact that I had actually run. I'd had my switch on my one isolated, which is my emergency battery, honestly, but I had run on it and didn't realize that I'd flipped to it. So I know that I for sure fished at least 4 days and possibly 5 days on one battery. So what I'm probably gonna do when I get home is I'm just gonna do a test. I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna run my one battery and I'm just gonna run it and see how long I can fish on it, because I know for a fact that I fished for 4 at the very minimum on 136 volt battery. It was an eye-opening experience for me, and honestly probably why I'm making this video, because it's taken me a while to get used to the lithium over the acid. One of the biggest reasons why is because with acid, at least I have some idea when my batteries are starting to get low. Your trolling motor will start, you know, you can hear it, you can feel it, and you're like, hey, losing some power here. And if I've got 2 or 3 hours left in the day, I can just turn my trolling motor down a little bit and not stand on it quite so hard, and I can finish the day out. With lithiums, they're gone, no warning. With the cranking, same thing. You would see it on your grass, start getting low voltage, your aerators, maybe you can put them on a timer or something like that, something to conserve battery power. But with the acids, with the lithiums, you don't have that warning and they just go out. So I was concerned about that, but we're going to get to that too. There's also a backup system to it now with technology and the lithiums, especially with the chargers. Let's talk about some of the new advantages to lithiums. So with the Pro Guides that I'm cranking with, the 31 series STs, they're a true 31 group. You don't have to change out your battery trays for them to fit inside of here. Like I said, they come with a 10-year warranty. We have a battery tester right on top that you can hold your finger down on, and it tells you whether the battery is full 100% charged, or if it's at medium 50% charge, or if it's at a low charge, just by clicking the little indicator button on top of it. Also with that little indicator button, if you hold that button down for 3 seconds, it'll put the battery to sleep. So let's say that you live up north or we're in the south and you don't fish much in the wintertime and you're putting your boat up and you want to store it, you can hold that button down for 3 seconds and it'll allow that battery to go to sleep. All you have to do to wake it up is hold that battery down for 3 seconds and it'll wake the battery back up and come back on. If you were to have some kind of electrical malfunction that might put your battery to sleep, because sometimes that does happen, used to you would have to take off a negative lead off of your battery to actually wake that battery back up. You don't have to do that anymore. All you have to do is hold down that test button for 3 seconds and you're back in action. Let's talk about my system in particular, just to kind of get into the details of what I got. And yeah, I've got overkill. You can get away. What I'm telling you right now today is that you can buy a 112 volt lithium. Next time your cranker goes out, go get a Pro Guide, 12-volt lithium, and I promise you will not be disappointed. Lifespan, money, everything. It's the deal, along with weight, size, and fit. I'm running two side by side. Both of my batteries are 12-volt lithiums side by side, and I have them run parallel. And what I mean by that is I've just got a positive to a positive and a negative to a negative, so both batteries are feeding off each other evenly and drawing to the boat. That runs your aerators, that runs all the power, anything, lights, switches, anything on the entire boat other than the trolling motor is run off of 12 volts. All of your electronics, anything that's got power whatsoever. Power poles behind me, tilt and trim, all that is run off of it. Everything is tied directly to that 12-volt battery. On the trolling motor side, I actually have three. And like I said, I just fished for 4 days on one, so it's becoming even more apparent to me. But like I say, technology is coming, and we're learning as pros. I'm not the only one pro with overkill, and it's because we've had acid issues and we're just used to batteries, and we like to have backups. So with my system in particular, I have three 36 volts. Two of them are the two that I use all the time. Not one time this year have I ever even come remotely close to running those two down. They are tied to parallel, just like I talked about. Positive to positive, negative to negative, and then the negative that goes to the trolling motor and the positive goes to the trolling motor. So they feed and pull off each other evenly. The third battery is set on its own series all by itself. It's not even tied into the same power pole charge, which we're going to talk about that as well, because it's got some cool features that does this. It's not even tied to it. I actually carry a dry charger with me at all times, and it has to be charged separately. Now, I've got a switch in here that is tied to the two that are together and the two that are not. And there's a switch for one or a switch for two, or you can turn it to one and two at the same time. One is the one battery by itself, and two is the two batteries together. So it keeps it pretty simple for me. So I leave it on two. And actually the story that I was telling y'all, that's what happened. I had gone back here messing around at some point in the last 5-6 days of fishing and turned it to one, probably wanting to see how long I could fish off this battery. Forgot that I'd switched it there. Never hooked up the dry charger because that's not the battery I'm running down, plugging in my power pole charger, which charges the two that I wasn't even using, and that was my issue that I had. So as soon as I got home that night, charged in my power pole charger, plus I plugged this in to charge my middle battery by itself, and then I was golden and didn't have another problem. But I learned a big lesson from it. I can fish an awful long time on 136 volts, so days. But that's my system with my switches. And that's why I'm running it that way, is because I've kind of got a backup on a backup on a backup. I've actually got two backups there because I run two 36s side by side. If you feel like you're a guy that spends a tremendous amount of time on your trolling motor, definitely get the two. Get the two side by side, parallel them, 10-year warranty. Like I said, they only weigh 33 pounds a piece. So two of them weigh 66 pounds, less than what one acid weighs. So two of them together are going to weigh less than just one AGM that you've got in your boat right now. And with that system, you can run forever. Forever and ever and ever. And that's probably what I will be down to next year, is I'll be down to two 36s, 112 cranking, 3 batteries in my boat, lose a lot of weight, and be on my way. The charging system is also a big part of the lithiums. Having chargers that were accessible. So like I said in the beginning of this technology, back in the story that I was talking about how I kind of got this far, the onboard chargers that were built into our boats were definitely not lithium friendly. And that's how a lot of boats got burnt down. Your battery charger has to be built for a lithium charger. Now, time has come on, most of the chargers are. I personally run the power pole charge. I'm crazy about it. This is the 3rd or 4th one that I've had tied to my lithiums, and I've had 0 issues whatsoever. Some of the benefits that the power pole charge has, I wasn't even aware of until this year, this spring. I had gone and fished a tournament on the Elite Series and come back home and wanted to go out to Hefner by my house on like a Wednesday by myself. And fish were spawning and stuff in springtime, and it was a nice day. I went out to my garage and I realized that I hadn't plugged my boat in since I left, or since I'd come home. So I'd fished the tournament all day, drove for a day or two to get home, and then put the boat in the garage and hadn't plugged it in. But I've got so many batteries and I've got so much faith in them, I'm not worried about it. Hook up the boat, drive to the lake, and when I get to the lake, I always turn my power switch on to give my grass time to fire up before I put my boat in, so that computer inside has time to go through its processing to wake everything up on the graphs. When I went to turn the power switch on, I realized it's already on. So it's been on. It's been on for a week since I left the last event. And my bilge pumps are running. There's things going on. And I'm like, man, this is not good. But I still got power. And it's been sitting in my garage with some lights and stuff on and the light switch on. But I still got power, so I'm going fishing. So I go out on Lake Hefner by myself, knowing that I've got this battery issue, but you know, everything's working fine. And I fish for about an hour or so, and my trolling motor quits. The trolling motor itself's got power, but the foot pedal doesn't. And I realized that the foot pedal is powered off the 12-volt battery, not the 36, because it's the Garmin and the way that it's wireless. So I kind of panicked because I am a pretty good ways from takeoff, and I'm like, and I'm out there on a Wednesday, there's nobody out on the lake but me. And I think, well, I've got my remote control. And so I get it out, my remote control that goes to my Garmin trolling motor, and it does work. So I don't absolutely have to have the foot pedal. I could troll it by remote controlling my end 4 miles back, which I don't want to have to do, but I do have an outlet. I called Darren, who rigs my boat, and I was like, hey man, you got any ideas on this? And he's like, yeah. He's like, your power pole charge has an auxiliary emergency jump system on it. And I'm like, dude, what? And he's like, yeah, open your app. So I get my phone out, and I've got my Monster cable app that goes to the power pole charge, the Monster app. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, it's the power pole charge app. It controls your power poles, your pumps, and your charger, and gives you readouts on your batteries and all that kind of stuff. And sure enough, it's got the emergency button on it to where it will give you cranking. And I was like, does this thing really work, Darren? And he's like, I don't know. He said, I've only installed hundreds of them, but I don't know if they really work because I've never had like this system, so let's try it. So he's on the phone with me, and I'll be darned if that sucker didn't freaking crank right over. And I was like, wow, okay. So then I just let my boat motor run. And I was like, now I know I've got an emergency backup. I've got the alternator running with the motor running. Fish are on the bank and biting. So I wasn't in a tournament, so it wasn't a kill switch situation. So I just let the motor run for about an hour while I fished. The alternator on the motor charged back up the lithiums, because lithiums charge in a third or a fourth of the time that it takes acids to charge. And so an hour of it running, I was golden. I fished for the next 4 or 5 hours, didn't have any more problems, went home, plugged everything in, and I'm back to running. So a lot of benefits there. So the power pole charge, like I said, I haven't had any issues with it. It's got a lot of benefits to it. It's also got the emergency start, which I think is a huge feature. Couldn't believe that it even worked. It 110% was flawless. That's pretty much the rundown of everything that I've got battery-wise and power-wise with the newest technology to run the newest technology that's on my bass boat. You don't have to have 5 graphs and this and that on your boat for lithium to be an advantage to you. All right, guys, that's pretty much my experiences with lithiums and Pro Guy batteries. Had a lot of success with it. I hope this information passes on to you, because I'm just being honest with you about my experiences and how I've kind of got to where I am today with the new power situations that we have and the options that we have that are out there on the market. If you're still an acid guy, I understand. We've got tons of acids for sale too. Pro Guy had been in business since 1980 and sell them all over the country. So you guys, really appreciate every single one of y'all being here. And until next time, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.